We now come to Santhammal, with whom I have had the privilege of moving very closely. Though I cannot claim that at that time I understood her greatness, I now realize how blessed I was to have her satsang. It was only after reading Maurice Friedman's manuscripts that I could comprehend her spiritual grandeur. Bhagavan came down from Skandashram to Ramanashram in 1922. At that time, there were only 4 or 5 residents, including Bhagavan's brother Chinnaswamy, who was the head cook from 1922 to 1928. Others would come and help for a few days at a time and then return home. Santhammal came in 1928 to Ramanashram to assist Chinnaswamy and never left. Santhammal was a widow who had lost her husband as well as her 3 sons. She was left with only one daughter, who she gave in marriage with great difficulty. Tragically, during childbirth, she also died. Santhammal was left with no one and nothing to hold on to. Being utterly poor, she went to various relatives' houses to assist in the kitchen. One day, in her brother-in-law's house, in the midst of boiling rice, she felt an inner prompting. What are you doing with yourself? Your children are dead. Why have you forced on yourself these responsibilities? Whom are you serving? Who are you? These were not thoughts, but her future guru's commandment that she was feeling so intensely. She left her brother-in-law's house and went to Ramanathapuram, where her friend Muruganar was staying. Upon entering his house, she went into his room and saw Bhagavan's picture for the first time. It captivated and beckoned her. Here is my God, she thought. How is it that I did not know about him until now? She yearned to go to Arunachala, but alas, she did not have enough money for the journey. Fortunately, in 1927, a group of people from Ramanathapuram were going to Arunachala for the Kartikai festival. They gave her money for her ticket and took her along. She arrived in Arunachala and stayed for 40 days along with the group. Every day she went to Ramanashram and basked in the presence of Bhagavan. She prayed, "The dream of my life has come true. Today I am blessed, for here is my God. In your presence I am in heaven, but when I am away, grant me that my mind troubles me no more." Bhagavan, being shy by nature, turned to Muruganar, who was standing next to him, and said, "Ask her to find out whether there is such a thing as a mind. If so, what is its form? Does it have a mustache and a beard?" Hearing this, Santhammal stood still. Muruganar had to intervene and say, "Do you not recognize that Bhagavan has initiated you into the search of the self?" She could not immediately grasp the deep spiritual content of the statement, but she was overwhelmed by a feeling of immense devotion and started singing a verse from Ramana Stuti Panchakam. The meaning of the verse is, "O Bhagavan, your spiritual splendor fills the universe with its fragrant perfume. Attracted by the aroma, numerous beings turn their heart to you. I too grew restless and sought you eagerly. Where is he? I inquired, and now I have come to you." This verse, written by Satyamangalam Venkatarama Iyer at Virupaksha Cave in the 1910s, very aptly fitted her situation and applies to each one of us as well. In the now, we have this opportunity to be in contact with Bhagavan. He is nothing other than the inner silence, the direct experience of the self. When Santhammal went to take leave of Bhagavan, he said, "Upadesha Saram, a book containing 30 verses of the essential teaching, is coming tomorrow. If you stay one more day, I will give you this book." She stayed one more day and got her copy of Upadesha Saram from Bhagavan. At the time of her departure, Santhammal started crying profusely. Bhagavan consoled her, saying, "Do not cry. You are not leaving Arunachala. Go and come soon." Unfortunately, Santhammal could not return to Arunachala for 1 year. Meanwhile, in Santhammal's absence, preparations were underway for the celebration of Bhagavan's Jayanti, birthday. Calling the Sarvadikari, Bhagavan asked him to send an invitation to Santhammal. At that time, Santhammal was a nobody, a poor, uncared-for widow. Santhammal was deeply moved by the master's concern in bridging the gap between the guru and disciple. She begged for money and finally came to the ashram for good in 1928. When she entered, Bhagavan was explaining Uladu Narpadu, 40 verses on reality. He stopped, looked at her, and asked, "Have you received a copy of this book? I had asked them to send it to you." Santhammal was greatly touched by the compassion and personal attention that Bhagavan was showering on her. She vowed, I will stay with this master without going anywhere, and I will cook for him." The next day, she appealed to Bhagavan. "As long as I am with you, Bhagavan, my mind is at peace. Away from you, I am restless. What am I to do?" Bhagavan said, "Stay here until your mind becomes restful." The following morning, Chinnaswami had to go away for some days to Chennai for medical treatment. In Chinnaswami's absence, the ashram would be left without a cook. Santhammal requested to take up the cooking. She replied that it was her dream to stay with Bhagavan and cook for him. This turned out to be a golden opportunity. When Santhammal entered the kitchen, not wanting her to be left alone for the first time, Bhagavan joined her and started helping her. Apart from being a perfect cook, Bhagavan was like a cordon bleu spiritual chef, an expert in cooking his devotees' egos and feeding them to Arunachala. In fact, Kavyakanta Ganapati Muni has sung, "O Bhagavan, you are the perfect cook, but you are a non-vegetarian cook. You cook all of our egos and then feed them to your father Arunachala."